Hey folks, alright, just a quick rundown on quiz 5. Again, this one's on the 31st, and usual idea, 7 till 7, covers about 2 weeks worth of material. Primarily this is focusing on the code generation material that we took a look at. So the date range is the 15th to the 26th. The last lecture of that was the Intro to Optimization. And since the whole rest of it is on code generation, I think we'll actually just stick the topics to code generation. So we'll leave the optimization for quiz 6. So, usual idea, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 50 minutes plus the 5-minute grace period. And yeah, usual rules, usual processes. I think everybody's pretty used to that by now. Primary interest, I expect, is on the question styles and the topics. Again, it's going to be the same layout as the last one. 5 questions, 10 marks each. And again, plan on about 10 minutes a question. And since this is looking at the code generation side of things, we're looking at the kind of intro material we did on code shape and code generation, that tree walking process for going through the abstract syntax tree and trying to generate your code as you walk the nodes of the tree. Some of the issues that we took a look at in terms of as you're going through this process, coming up with what kind of a register scheme are you going to use, and the process that we went with of, we'll pick as many new register names as we need, as new temporary variable names as we need, if you like. And so we'll just generate a new one for each of the different nodes that we're going through and processing. Some of the issues that come up in terms of trying to keep the register count down doing that, right, in terms of evaluating which subtree to do first, that kind of idea. Some of the issues in terms of if we are keeping values in registers as much as possible, then there are kind of ambiguous situations where we run into where we're not sure if 2 different registers are actually holding the same value that's being referenced in the source code. So the ambiguity issues that crop up, particularly with things like pointers. Some of the issues that we took a look at in terms of the general layout of memory that we have to consider, storage and memory alignment issues, things like the fields of structs and whatnot. All of the material that we got into in terms of generating code specifically for different data types. So looking at arrays, looking at structs, and figuring out the offsets to fields or the offsets to elements. Some of the different primitive types that we considered, some of the type conversion ideas that we have to generate code for. We've got a mixed type operation and we have to generate the conversion in there somewhere. Some of the control structures that we took a look at, so the simple loops, while loops and for loops and repeat until, that kind of an idea. So some of the code generation for those, for function calls and parameter evaluation, and what order do we evaluate the parameters in. Some of those things in particular that we got into in terms of the Boolean operations and how the Boolean operations tend to be tied to what's implemented on the target system, and some of the different ideas like condition codes and Boolean compares that we took a look at for how the different instruction sets change a bit the way we generate our code. And then in each of those areas, we looked at some of the optimization ideas, some of the optimizations we might look at if we've got an array that we're walking through sequentially, or if we're dealing with an array of structs or a struct containing arrays. So some of the different considerations that we had there for trying to reduce redundant computation or move things like loads into different locations so that they could be done more effectively. So those are the types of things that we'll focus on. And again, 5 questions, 10 marks each, figure around 10 minutes per question. Again, the usual quiz rules, and do it yourself. Don't communicate with anybody about the quiz until after the quiz period has ended. And, usual spiel on all the different ways that you might find to communicate with one another. And just don't do it. The simple version. And again, the usual technical help. And as always, if you run into issues, if something prevents you from taking the quiz or from completing the quiz or completing the quiz on time, then just get in touch with me and we'll find a way to make it work out. So I think those were all the key points. We will leave it there.